What's up, geeks and geekettes? Today we're discussing Star Wars The Clone Wars Episode 9 of the final season. Now, up until this point, I've been kind of underwhelmed by most of the episodes of The Clone Wars, with few of the episodes actually wowing me. But this episode makes the build-up all worth it. So if this is your first time on the channel, please subscribe, and you're going to want to turn on notifications so you can be notified when we come out with future holo transmissions. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Zavi. If you're looking for all kinds of cool geek-related stuff for all of your favorite franchises, especially Star Wars, check out Zavi.com and use the galactic code MCE to get 15% off your first in-stock purchase. Now here I'm warning you, if you haven't seen this episode of The Clone Wars, please go check it out before you continue on with this video. We are going to be talking spoilers, so definitely go check this one out. This is the Star Wars episode you've been looking for. You still with me? Alright, great. So this episode, from the beginning to the end, really struck all the right chords. The creators really wanted to make you feel like you were watching a Star Wars movie. Everything from the Star Wars classic music was thrown in here to all of the badass battles. This show had everything packed in one punch. Now I'm going to do my best to label all the Easter eggs that I found and any parts of the episode that call back to previous episodes. I'm going to do my best. But if I miss anything, please let me know in the comments below. So right at the beginning, we get that Lucasfilm limited production intro, right? That looks like the classic intro, in my opinion. I just was like, immediately, I felt like this is going to be something cool. And then we get smacked with that Clone Wars logo, and you get the Star Wars classic music, which made me feel like this is going to be a special episode. Also, the Clone Wars was in a red logo, which is new. That hasn't been done before. And I think that the reason why they went with the red was because this episode is part of or right before the Revenge of the Sith. So they just wanted you to make you feel like this is actually part of one of the movies. But I really have to put some emphasis on the music. I really enjoyed that. I love that they went with the classic Star Wars music for this one, so it ties into the Revenge of the Sith and the Star Wars movies. Previous episodes of the Clone Wars didn't feature anything like that. And when you get that classic music, it gives you the feels. So then it picks up just like any other Clone Wars cartoon, where they have the military report and they start telling you, where your heroes are and what's going on. And in this scene, they show a bunch of Jedi on different planets. And if you notice, a lot of these Jedi, like Alea Sakura, she was on the planet that you see her in Revenge of the Sith at the end, when most of these Jedi were killed during Order 66. So that's another callback to the Revenge of the Sith. So the episode kicks off with Anakin and Kenobi on the planet of Yabona, I think is what they said in the report. And they're being overwhelmed by the Separatist army, or at least Kenobi is. And then you see Anakin come in, and Anakin takes charge and takes over the battle. So Kenobi kind of warns him, lets him know, hey, what are you doing? You're being too overconfident. And Anakin got this. He feels like he's going to be able to win this battle, and everything's cool. Now, what's really neat about this is that you see Anakin come up, and then he first takes and says that he surrenders to the Separatists, right? I think that this is a callback to the very first pilot episode of the Clone Wars. Now, when I saw this, you can catch this on Disney Plus, by the way, and it's featured as one of the special episodes of the Clone Wars. I think it's like an hour long. And in that episode, Kenobi does a very similar thing. He takes and surrenders to the Separatists to allow Anakin and Ahsoka to complete their mission. Now, in this one, Anakin takes and says that he's going to surrender to buy time for Rex to be able to do his part, and they take over and take and beat down the Separatists. Now, when the battle kicks in, you get that Star Wars music that just like really, sells the whole thing, and I think that was really cool. So the battle was really neat, and then they win. Now, immediately after that happens, they get a transmission to head back to the command ship, and there waiting is Ahsoka with a message. So anyway, Anakin and Kenobi are reunited with Ahsoka, and she brings along with her Bo-Katan. Now, Bo-Katan is the sister of the Duchess Satine, the former ruler of Mandalore. So all of this that's happening, Ahsoka tells them that Darth Maul is now in control of Mandalore through the Prime Minister Almec. You can catch up on all this in Clone Wars Season 5, Episodes 14 through 16. Now, in those episodes, what happens is Darth Maul takes over Clan Vizsla and the Death Watch, and they take over Mandalore. They remove the Duchess Satine from control, and he instills Prime Minister Almec as controller of Mandalore. He did all this to draw out Kenobi, because he knew that Kenobi and the Duchess Satine had a little thing going on. Now, you know, because of his Jedi stuff, you know, he can't actually act on that, but he does have feelings for the Duchess. So Kenobi takes and comes to Mandalore to try to save Satine, but in doing so, Darth Maul takes and captures both Kenobi and Satine. So then right in front of him, Darth Maul kills the Duchess Satine, which there's a very touching moment between Kenobi and Satine where she tells him that she loves him, and you can actually see where Kenobi's very hurt by all of this. So immediately following that, Bo-Katan saves Kenobi and the two of them escape. Right after all of that happens, Darth Sidious comes to the planet to confront Darth Maul and his apprentice, Savage Opress, his brother. Darth Sidious tells him that he's no longer his apprentice, there can only be two, and a battle ensues, which is, to me, one of the best lightsaber battles in all of Star Wars. This is probably one of the coolest battles I've ever seen. So Darth Maul and Savage Opress face off against the Emperor, or Darth Sidious, as he calls himself here, and Darth Sidious beats them down and kills Savage Opress, and then at the end we see Darth Maul being tortured by Darth Sidious. Now at this point, Darth Sidious has the Darksaber, and you guys have now been familiar with the Darksaber through the Mandalorian. So Darth Sidious takes and is torturing him, but then nothing is ever shown of that. And up until this point, what we've seen is that Darth Maul comes back later on. You see him in Rebels, you see him in the Solo movie, but we don't know exactly what has happened to him in between there. Right now we see that Darth Maul is still in control of Mandalore, which I think is kind of cool. It's also kind of, you know, we got to figure out what happened there. Did Darth Sidious let him go? I don't really think that that's really what happened. I think Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, is much more conniving than that. You know, he's very calculating. So I imagine that he let Darth Maul go and continue his control over Mandalore so that Darth Sidious could now have control over Mandalore and the Beskar armor and all of that. All right, so back to the current show. So Anakin wants to help Ahsoka, right? But Kenobi, he's being kind of a hard ass. And I love Kenobi. Kenobi's one of my favorite Jedi, but man, can he be a Boy Scout sometimes. So anyway, Kenobi wants to help, but he doesn't want to make any moves without orders from the council. So he needs to go discuss that with the council. That kind of annoys Ahsoka, and Ahsoka tells, you know, both of them that this is the reason why the General Republic, that the people have lost faith in the Jedi, why she lost faith in the Jedi. You know, and Anakin shares her opinions on this. Anakin decides to take and help anyway, in any way that he can. So he kind of brings this up to Kenobi and tells him, you know, we could take and give her a legion of the 501st. But Kenobi says that no, you can't do that because she's no longer a Jedi, which I think is kind of a dick move. But anyway, Anakin gets around this by saying we can finally promote Rex to commander, have him command the forces, and they help Ahsoka, and Ahsoka would be kind of like a council. So Kenobi kind of agrees with this. Ahsoka is cool with this, and it's kind of neat too because, you know, Captain Rex is my favorite clone trooper. He finally gets his promotion to commander. So that happens. They take and they have a little bit of conversation, and it's just kind of neat to see the two of them reunited. The dynamic there is very different from what we've seen in the past. You see Anakin much more relieved to see Ahsoka, kind of like a father role, you know, like having his kid come back to him. He's doing anything he can to make her happy. You know, I was really hoping to see kind of like a hug situation happen there. I think that was going to happen, but they just didn't. Ahsoka, on the other hand, is a little bit more withdrawn. She's kind of cautious. She doesn't want to lead Anakin on and let, you know, that she's coming back when she knows that she isn't. So that happens. Anakin then gives her two new lightsabers, which are basically her old lightsabers, but he's upgraded them a little bit. So that's kind of cool too. And then we get this alert that there's a battle about to happen, right? Kenobi comes running through, tells Anakin we have to take and make the move now. At first, Anakin thinks that they got the approval to go help them on Mandalore, but that isn't what happens. We find out that what's happening is that General Grievous has attacked Coruscant, which we now know is the beginning, the fated battle at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. So Anakin and Kenobi have to leave to go to Coruscant to help them out, which pisses off Ahsoka a little bit, but Anakin allows her to take part of the Legion, which also, by the way, they have new painted helmets, which you gotta love Disney for this, is because now we're probably gonna get new figures of these Clone Wars with the new Ahsoka paint scheme. So gotta make money any way you can, right? Anyway, so They leave and they share their final goodbyes, which this is probably going to be the last time that Anakin and Ahsoka ever see each other in this way until Rebels, when you actually see him as Darth Vader. So one more thing to note here, which I thought was kind of interesting, when Kenobi comes in to let them know that Grievous is commencing a battle against Coruscant, he also mentions that Shaak-Ti was dispatched to help the Chancellor. Now this is a callback to a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith where Shaak-Ti did actually make it to help the Chancellor, but then she was killed by General Grievous. Alright, so next scene, you see Ahsoka and Bo-Katan and now the Republic forces approaching Mandalore and getting ready for the commencement of the Siege of Mandalore. So we now know about this through Din Djarin in the Mandalorian TV series, where he talks about the Siege of Mandalore and where he was hidden inside of a case and then he's saved by members of the Death Watch in blue armor. Very similar to the blue armor that we see being led by Bo-Katan. So this is the Clan Vizsla, or the Death Watch. It's a Death Watch loyalist, really. It's a faction of them that's separated from the other members of the Death Watch that remained loyal to Darth Maul. So that's probably what we're going to see get played out here. It's a cool little tie-in to the new TV show. So then just before they actually make their landing and begin the actual siege, we see Prime Minister Almec prepping his troops for battle. And amongst the troops, you see two that stand out. One of them is Gar Saxon, and the other one is a purple-haired looking Mandalorian, a female. At first, I thought this was going to be Sabine Wren, which I thought would have been freaking awesome. But it actually wasn't. He calls her out as Rook. So Rook is a clan, so she's probably part of Clan Rook. Now what this all has to do, and what's tie in here is pretty neat, is that Gar Saxon, we find out later on in Rebels, is the holder of the Darksaber. So Sabine Wren challenges him and then beats him, which then she takes on the Darksaber at that point and becomes the ruler of Mandalore at that point, right? So Clan Rook was there, and they were amongst the clan members that pledged their allegiance to Sabine Wren. So that's the little tie-in right there. Both of them are commanded to go off and do their thing, and the battle starts. Now, the battle was nothing short of epic. Ahsoka Tano really shows off her skills, and it's really neat to see. So you see her climb aboard the dropship. A bunch of dropships are being destroyed. She jumps from dropship to dropship, beating down Mandalorians as she goes down, and then crash lands one of them onto a platform where she continues on the attack. She is fantastic. Even my wife was like, this is a crazy looking scene. She even mentioned that Rosario Dawson has her work cut out for her to play Ahsoka Tano. I agree. You know, with the way they show her here, she's very athletic. Rosario Dawson's going to have to get in some serious shape to be able to play this role. Still, it was really awesome to see her in full-fledged battle and, you know, a fully formed Jedi at this point, which I think was really cool. I really liked that battle all the way through. Definitely gave me the feels. So Bo-Katan and her troops make it into the chamber where they confront Prime Minister Almec, who's now downed in all of his Mandalorian armor, which I think is kind of neat that he's wearing kind of a greenish looking armor. Almost looks like Boba Fett armor, right? You know, he has a thing against the Fetts. In a previous episode, he mentions how the Fetts are not true Mandalorians, that they stole his armor, or the Jango Fett stole his armor. So I thought that was kind of cool to show him wearing the Fett armor. Kind of ironic. Anyway, she captures Prime Minister Almec, who then reveals the secret plan. So they anticipated that they would make it into the throne room, and a faction that was led by Gar Saxon, you know, led them down into the tunnels, where some of the Republic troopers went, and so did Ahsoka. So Bo-Katan tries to take and warn Ahsoka, but it's too late at that point, and her troops have been defeated, and she is surrounded by a group of Mandalorians. And out from the shadows comes Darth Maul, who is disappointed. It's because he wanted that to be Kenobi who was there. And that is where we left off. That's where this episode ends. What is the fate of these two? I don't know yet. So we do know that in Rebels, both Maul and Ahsoka make an appearance. So obviously this isn't their end. They're not going to die in these next 3 episodes. There probably will be a battle. But we're going to have to wait and find out next week to see exactly what happens. So that's it. That's all I got for you. I hope I covered most of the Easter eggs. If I didn't, please let me know in the comments below what I missed. I'm interested to hear what you guys found. So that's it. And until next time, may the Force be with you.